Welcome, everybody, to our reflection and reading for November 2020. Thank you all for coming. So first, I'm going to do a run through of November energies, comment on the common processes that I observed. So obviously, you all are going through different life situations, different things that are affecting you, that are, working in your field. But from my perspective, it is just a different sort of timeline. Each of you is in a different stage. The overall kind of task here in November is to find the higher expression. So this is a two-part. It's recognizing what we are no longer willing to tolerate. It's just no more kind of energy, that can be quite intense for some of you. And simultaneously, well, if not that, then what? Okay, so if you can remind yourself of that phrase, that when you experiencing yourself in the midst of an outburst of emotions, then ask yourself what it is that is trying to come into the headlights, what is trying to be revealed here about yourself, and what you could do about this in a different way. Like, how can you maybe see it differently, or can you maybe just feel into it instead of trying to make it go away? We all have this programmed fear of big emotions. We all do. It just starts in our childhood, that we're told to restrain ourselves, or not to be too emotional for some of us, especially women. And we've been raised with this idea that having emotions is bad. And when we have big emotions, then of course it's super bad. But if you investigate this, you'll find out that it is not actually the fact that we have emotions, but it is the way we express our emotions. So finding a better way, that's fundamentally the same as, seeking a higher expression. This is a big illumination, a big reveal for us energetically sensitives, because we spend so much energy in trying to figure out where stuff is coming from. Who's the culprit? Whose fault is it? That's part of the shadow aspect. Okay, that we forget that it doesn't matter what is out there. Okay, everything is out there at all times. What matters is what sticks with us, and that is the part that we need to take responsibility for. That's our job. So yes, somebody can be really mean to you in traffic and honk and show you the finger and drive up to your bumper and all that. Yes, that's not nice, and that can trigger a lot of outrage. Okay, but whether or not you actually affected by this, let's say more than perhaps a couple of seconds, that's part of your choice. That's part of like what you are allowing yourself to latch onto. And depending on the predisposition and the worldview that we have a tendency to interpret, to contextualize what it is that we're experiencing. So whatever it is that other people are going through, it's their stuff. Okay, and yes, you can pick up on it, but that's not an excuse. Okay, it's not an excuse to externalize our own emotions. Whatever it is that we're feeling is a signal that comes from within ourselves. Just need to clarify this because it's such a big topic for November, and also a big part of our learning task. In order to, like say in this context here, grow into your higher expression, you have to go through some of the lower expressions of a specific topic. in order to arrive there. So the purpose is already there. Yeah. But when you go through all these negative experiences, you can't see the purpose because you've never trained yourself to look into this. You know, these pivotal moments are the moments when you can recognize them online as they occur. That's the goal. Because then you can really feel into the energetic quality of what it is that you're choosing here. And that then leads to conscious manifestation. And in that also prevents karmic repetition. Because karmic repetition occurs as a consequence of unconscious choices. It's basically sort of the divine fail-safe. Yeah. If you're not choosing to become conscious in this lifetime, then karma will take care of the need to fulfill a certain task through repetition. Yeah. So what we need to ask ourselves here, and this is a deep spiritual concept and a bit complex, yeah. So sorry guys that we jumped straight into the complexity of that. Yeah, but retrocausality, yeah, is something that comes to you as soon as you let go of believing, yeah, that reality is like how your ego perceives it. Yeah, it's a moment when you can accept that there's a limited version of reality through the eyes of your ego, and that there's an expanded version of that if you look at it through the eyes of your higher self, your consciousness. And in that moment, this is pivotal because everything changes. Yeah, you reframe everything. Why humanity needs to go through all this stuff that it's going through right now, and things like that become clear to you. It's a necessary process. I mean, I made predictions 12 years ago where I said, yeah, well, all our countries are going to have to do some shadow clearing. So what we're going to have here the next 10, 12 years is global, national shadow clearing. Yeah. And right now we're seeing this very clearly. That's what's happening. Not just the United States, not just New Zealand, not just, wherever, you're from, all of us. And this happens in different ways because we all have different tribal karmic components that need to be cleared out. So as above, so below, or as below, so above. Yeah, we have to do this as individuals and also as a collective. And that's why we have to endure this confrontation with untruth right now. Because the bigger theme, the bigger cycle is us learning how to discern truth. That's our evolutionary plan. That's our task as humans, to grow into our higher consciousness that actually allows us to discern truth. It's about retrocausality, which means a reframing of time, and with it also, decisions, and how certain decisions are extremely important at a specific time, even if our ego doesn't like them. So self-correction is then fundamentally what you can observe in nature as the higher expression. Yeah, you go back, you do correct, okay, but how? By learning from it, by collecting it as a treasure token, like in a computer game, where you've basically got to the next level, even though it was hard. Yeah, but you got to the next level, and that's why you can see those things now. So whenever you can step into that place that you can witness it, yeah, just like how it says here, I realize now that it is my highest expression to break free from my ego's illusion here in 3D and to overcome the darkness and loneliness of my inner separation from my true being. What is our true being? That is actually the spirit being in us, yeah, the soul, if you will, yeah, that has chosen to incarnate here in 3D. Okay, That's the higher perspective, and the higher perspective allows you to find a higher expression. Yeah, so ask yourself, what is my ego illusion? Yeah, and then you can reverse engineer it. Yeah, so there were some things that I mentioned here already that are a little difficult to understand. Most of you are in active work with transCODES on, various levels. But just to repeat here real quick, because this visual is kind of relevant. This is how the code looked like that came in, to be precise, except for it wasn't here in this horizontal, but in a vertical form. That's a specific code for me. But I wanted to just describe here the different types of reality that I was referring to. Don't try to read this all. There obviously is a reality here that relates to our heart center. It's referenced several times in the alignment. Yeah, the heart center, the sacred heart in the middle, right here. Yeah, this is fundamentally what we are aiming for from a spiritual perspective. This is the connection with our soul self, the conscious choice, the full present moment awareness in which we can make a stance for ourselves and actively create, where we can see the good and the beautiful in this world while simultaneously also seeing reality as is. Yeah, but it all makes sense to us. Yeah, it's also where we can, tune into, grace and recognize that this 3D ego self experience, and this is often new to people, the etheric self experience, yeah, what we sort of perceive when we tune into the more spiritual side of ourselves, that those need to be brought together. They need to be, sort of, if you want, they need to be congruent, yeah, in the middle. When they're not congruent, and this is basically the nature of duality itself, yeah, dualism is when they're split from another, and then we experience ourselves on one hand as sort of this ego, the 3D material being with a beginning and an end, which is also tied to our fear of the end of everything, with our fear of dying. Yeah, that is related to the ego self and the material aspect of us. Yeah, the more extreme this becomes, the more afraid we are of dying. Yeah, when we are standing in our middle, we don't need to be afraid of dying, because we know the spirit being in us doesn't die when this body dies. Yeah. On the other hand, and this is where most of you guys are have a tendency to go into, is we cannot sort of take off into la la land and just wanting to have a spiritual experience here, want to experience bliss, and sort of fairyland and so forth, while we're here in 3D, because that would deny and reject the purpose of being in 3D. Okay, so we have to bring this together. Yeah, so these two outer circles here represent the darknesses that are pulling us out of our unified self into this dualistic self, and these are also the dangers of it, and if you will, also the shadow aspects, or the lower expressions of ourselves. We all carry these. Okay, so the energetic quality of November, here to go into the forecast a little more before I do more readings. Yeah, so the energetic quality of November is tied to us breaking through, breaking off, breaking free. Yeah, and the code, yeah, that comes in here for us in this month to muster the courage and the energy to break through is no more. No more. I'm done with creating karma through unconscious choices or coping. No more. I'm done with entertaining toxic thoughts and emotions projected onto me. No more. I am done with trying to please others to the expense of my truth. But I also forgive myself for dismissing my true feelings in the past. Now, that was the lower expression. I get this now. I can see now how this unconscious behavior led me into my fears and the darkness of my own shadow. Yeah, so both aspects of darkness, the material, ego, limited view, and the etheric, over spiritualized view, pull us into our darkness, into the darkness of our own shadow. Never forget this. It's both. If they come into extreme, in these extremes, it's the nature of duality here in 3D. Yeah. So I could not feel this before, and that is the cool part about November, because this forgiveness aspects where we realize that things had to be the way they were for me to arrive here at this place. Yeah, that's the time quality that comes into this, the karmic aspect of past, present, and future, and that too is part of this new paradigm, yeah, that's sort of liberating itself out of duality into a more non-dualistic way of seeing things. Yeah, no more black and white, no more good and bad, but more as seen through the lens of the conscious I am that I am. Yeah, seeing myself connected to all and being part of this divine plan. Yeah, the challenges here, in a nutshell, with this slide that you see here, is that uncovering truth is a painful process sometimes, but only if we hang on to our illusions, yeah, to our dualities, to our schisms, personally or collectively. There's no difference. So whatever comes forward for us as individuals really has to be processed through the collective as well. It's just a longer process. It takes decades, sometimes hundreds of years, centuries. You're not alone, so understand that we are all going this path. You're really connected with anybody who has these kind of impulses, these kind of thoughts, this kind of awareness. But we all must go through this process of liberating ourselves from collective programming individually first. So this is the part that sometimes makes us feel alone and separates us. And this is also what media propagates. Media propagates individualism. Yeah. In some countries, yeah, as you know, where the political system is more geared towards collectivism, yeah, it'd be the other extreme, but both are incorrect. It is in the middle where we can find the resolution. Yeah, it's where we bring, the material together with the etheric and with us as the feeling beings that we are. Yeah, it's the body, mind, heart, and soul. Yeah, that is then unified with spirit. The soul has been carved out of this in the past, and this is the part that we need to rediscover here, the feeling soul, the part in us that is actually witnessing this 3D experience. Yeah, we're witnessing it. Yeah, it's a higher pay grade. This is the higher consciousness in us that can do that, so that we can learn to fully trust in our inner truth and ultimately how to express and manifest it. Yeah, and this is our hidden power as humans. So November comes with the need for us to make a stance, and the energy alignment called breaking free is the one that points at the deeper aspects of that, namely, what is it that we need to liberate ourselves from? Yeah, we need to liberate ourselves from what binds, limits, clouds, confuses, and scares us. Yeah, that's the ego aspect of our life that pulls us into the lower expressions. Yeah, namely, created by, or based on the fear of the end of all things. So when we see ourselves as material only, then we must be afraid of the end of all things. Yeah, which is ultimately then, at a certain point of understanding and higher consciousness, turns out to be an illusion of the ego. Yeah, because if we are a part of the greater divine plan, and we are in fact spirit beings, such as like a soul, yeah, that's a spirit being, that is not a 3D being. Okay, so if we actually are souls and we have this 3D experience, yeah, then we don't need to be afraid of dying. Yeah, because that part in us that we identify with, namely the I am, yeah, I am a soul, I am connected to the bigger divine, the source of all, then that I don't need to worry about the physical 3D hull or suit that we're having on, that we're taking on, or vehicle, if you will. Yeah. So it is the liberating myself from energetic ties and karmic binds. Yeah, that marks the beginning of true healing and us growing into our higher consciousness. And this is sometimes hard to accept because the ego is quite adamant about wanting to have things in a comfortable way, in a pleasurable way. It doesn't like pain, and it doesn't want negative experiences. In fact, for most of us nowadays, it doesn't even want anything big, and unfortunately, anything that has to do with feeling. So this is the part here in November that is going to come forward for all of us, the importance of actually feeling into things. Yeah, the importance of allowing ourselves to be this full holistic being, body, mind, spirit, heart, and soul. Yeah, and once we can see that this is what we're composed of, we can find the middle ground. We can find the center in there, in our sacred heart, undisturbed by the limitations of the ego. We can feel the connection with the greater reality. And as soon as we can let go of wanting to be someone that we're not, meaning ego identity, we will feel supported and loved by spirit. Yeah, by this part, so to speak, that or not part, by this power that we see ourselves connected to. We feel the support immediately. I know that many of you have experienced this in the past, yeah, that whenever you sort of jump from the cliff and need to trust in your inner knowing, yeah, as scary as it is, those pivotal moments that change our life forever, because in that moment is something that we didn't expect. Yeah, namely that support that we suddenly feel. It's like the universe is conspiring to help us, to support us. And in November, you'll feel that. Yeah, I feel the power to choose my expression in this world and break free from the illusions of ego. This will be extremely empowering, and our job is to find the higher expression, because the lower expression of that is revolution, is removing people that are in the way. Yeah, so keep this in mind. You will see a lot of people reporting about spiritual mastery. So November is also about true spiritual mastery. Like really understanding the deeper aspects of our journey. It will be very, very easy for us to tune into this, especially if we are energetically sensitive and empathic, because it requires this skill to really feel into something. It's not about rationalization anymore. Whatever is displaying itself in the world right now, it cannot be rationalized. It is no longer a consequence of cause and effect. There is a bigger plan, a bigger order in effect, the bigger powers in effect, and therefore, the only way for us to make sense of this is actually to tune into this bigger order, into this bigger reality. Yeah, the focus needs to be that we really begin to question, all these limitations, especially when we're in the midst of facing a challenge. To ask ourselves, what do I need to liberate myself from here in this situation? Yeah, is there anything that I'm resisting? Because if I could let that go, maybe then the situation is no longer as challenging as it appears. And also, sometimes the question is, who really needs to be liberated? Yeah, maybe I have to liberate myself, yeah, so that somebody else can grow and move into his or her higher expression. In other words, maybe I have to let go of control. Yeah, that is also some higher expression of understanding what liberation can mean. And obviously, contemplating about why it is important to liberate myself is always good, because we have all these ego stories, these narratives in our head that tell us what is good and what is bad, and why it's better to do this and to do that. But upon questioning that and contemplating about that, you may find out that there's a lot of stuff hidden there that you've never even realized you were working with. So a lot of this liberation process in November has to do with reframing our belief system, and our value system. The main challenge will be facing our own shadow in that, and this will come forward in your relationships in form of codependency. So codependency is a very complex sociological and psychological topic. There's a lot of controversy about it, but I think in this colloquial sense we call codependency when there's sort of fixation on the other. Yeah, when there is something like, I must do this so that the other can do something. Yeah, that's kind of like what this feels like, to even if it is to my own detriment. Okay, and the problem with that is that it's mostly unaware to people that how they're actually controlling and manipulating other people by trying to please them. Yeah, this is the shadow aspect of that. Yeah, we cannot overcome our own negative inner self-talk, okay, or pessimism, or desire to be pleased, or to be validated, to be loved, by pretending or by avoiding. By avoiding confrontations, for example. One of the big hallmarks of codependency is a lack of proper boundaries. Or even worse, this is something I see a lot in energetically sensitives, telling ourselves that it's okay, normalizing toxicity, normalizing abuse. Yeah, it is in your power to step out of that. And if you have reasons not to step out of that, then you need to illuminate those reasons, because then there is some kind of either completely unconscious aspect, or something like an ego aspect, like a payoff for yourself that you're not quite admitting to yourself yet. The main opportunity, on the other hand, is a really, really deep healing for all of you that goes straight into the ancestral tribal healing. Lots of growth is possible here in November. So, I'm actually always a little torn when I write those forecasts and I talk about the aspects of a month, because people seem to only hone in on the negative stuff, on the gloomy stuff. But you got to understand that the moment you begin to see things from this greater perspective, you understand why certain processes have to happen. They have to happen for us to grow. Yeah, and it is in the nature of our ego that it resists growth. Yeah, ego wants things to stay the same. And if if that was the case, yeah, if we were all, just sort of becoming experts in keeping everything the way it is, well, then there is no evolution, and no evolution is a lower expression. It's life degrading because life itself functions based on the, well, necessity to grow, yeah, and to self-correct. So evolution, transformation, self-correction is part of this big alchemical process that we are all in here. And yes, you can, if you wish, reduce your life to 3D only, to the material only, and try to maintain things the way they are. But don't be surprised if you have a lot of schisms then, because you still are, after all, a soul with a body and not a body with a soul. So you're going to have to somehow balance that out. And that's then what karma is. It takes care of that. It's the fail safe. You can also not just run off into spiritual la la land and ignore 3D, because there's a reason why you're here in 3D, and that has to do with your self-expression. You have to learn how to bring this higher consciousness that you are part of into expression. This is our job as humans, yeah, to carry this into 3D. Yeah, that's our mission. Okay, and this is obviously different for each and every one of us. Looking at the collective resonances that are coming in, guys, here, this is very detailed, and I don't want to make this video take too long, but I'm going to refer to these slides when I do readings for November. And this is very, very strong, the collective liberation aspect. This vibrates on a very low resonance here, yeah, and the reason for that is also a topic for another energy talk, is because it creates the tension, it creates the drive, wanting, yeah, to evolve, yeah, out of the convenience and the complacency, of just trying to maintain everything the way it is. That's why you find here with the yellow arrow, yeah, that has to do with our mental constructs, the need for shadow clearing this month. Yeah, we need to really see into, what it is that our payoff is. We cannot just blame it on, the government and the WEF, or, this or this or this organization. Okay, we're playing a part in this. Okay, and that needs to be acknowledged for us to, bring this liberation energy into its higher expression. So the higher expression of revolution and rebellion is mission, is purpose. Yeah, and for that it is needed, and this is going to come in very, very strongly in this month through various events, yeah, through various tests, is the cosmological view. We have to educate ourselves on the bigger picture, on the greater plan that exists, not just, by decades or by centuries, but really looking at the history of human evolution altogether. And this is relevant for November because we're going to experience some very, very shocking revelations, some very interesting, I say interesting, new views on, like what our origin is and what our purpose is, and most likely also related to aliens. Okay, that too is a topic for an energy talk. I just want to drop one thing here, without being too judgmental, but just because a civilization exists, yeah, another civilization outside of the human civilization, doesn't necessarily mean that it has a higher consciousness. I really need you to internalize this. Just because they're maybe technologically more advanced, or every civilization, every species has their own karma, their own purpose. So this humanization of potential aliens is not very sophisticated, because they have a completely different karmic purpose, and maybe their karmic purpose is the domination of the universe. Okay, you don't know that. Okay, but to assume that aliens are on our side, or that they come here to support us or to help us in quote unquote ascension, that's a very uneducated guess. Yeah, so there's a little more due diligence needed. Just throwing this out there. Here you can see how these energies will affect our chakras, and the meaning of our chakras, then also the quality of our personal experience, visit, and also the energetic quality of our choices. So there's big arrows, that means it's a strong impact. So you can see here that November has a strong impact on our first and seventh chakra. When they come together, it's always about something greater than ourselves. It's the greater karmic and collective sort of dynamic that is playing with us, and that we are experiencing. And within that, we're going to have to deal with a bunch of stuff, but you can see here the aspects that are coming in are not all bad. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff coming in here in November. Even though from a physical perspective, you guys will probably experience quite a few symptoms, especially if you're energetically sensitive. So aspects here that you can see in the course of November coming forward for people is kidney, lower back, and thymus. This has to do with us not really expressing things, not really releasing things, and as a consequence, feeling like a victim, feeling unsupported, and so forth. That needs to be released. There's a bunch of tips that I will give you here as we move forward in November in the energy talks. Also, your nervous system is going to be very, very tense. The outer conditions are very tense. It will really trigger your adrenals. A lot of people will have stomach issues, mostly all linked to your autonomous nervous system, but it will also trigger infection. So this is not related to the political, sort of triple, what are they calling it, the triple pandemic now? What a joke. Of flu and RSV and COVID all coming together. Yeah, this is all just fear mongering. But there's going to be a higher susceptibility to infections and infectious diseases, simply because our adrenals are so worn out. Also for November, things with your eyes, with your optic nerve. So this will maybe trigger headaches with some people. So those of you who are a little sensitive to migraines, November can trigger quite a few of those. But also, if you're not that susceptible to migraines, more like a fogginess in your head, like really feeling out of it, not being able to focus. Mostly because these waves that are coming in November are very extreme. They come in with either like this extremely high vibration, where you can literally feel these energies going through your body, and they make you shake. Really, that's how strong they are. They feel very electrifying. And at the same time, then you crash and are so tired that you can't function anymore. So this is the nature of the November here. For how we perceive it. And my tip for you is that you ground a lot. You need a lot of grounding and a lot of centering. I've already talked about this. There's lots of videos about this on my YouTube channel, and I'll probably cover this again in the ongoing energy updates. thymus tapping is a very, very cool way of reminding ourselves to go into our higher expression and simultaneously triggering or activating, you know, sort of neurotransmitter release and you know, like activating sort of the higher functioning of our heart chakra, yeah, by speaking our truth and so forth. I'll demonstrate this to you in the energy talk. A practical tip is stay away from screens and too much electromagnetic radiation, you know, like that is, you know, where this problem with your eyes comes in, because your third eye will want to be very, very active. Yeah, it would be very easy for you to spiritually and psychically see, you know, which is very cool for some of you, because I know that many of you are seeing a lot of stuff, but it's hard for you to contextualize. You don't actually know what you're seeing. In November, a lot of things are going to come together. Yeah. Vibrationally, here, what we're experiencing is a lot of fear, but more than fear, anger. So, guys, fear is unexpressed anger in psychology, okay? And from an energetic point of view, anger is better than fear because it comes with, first of all, it's higher vibratory rate, but it also comes with more courage. So the higher expression of that is obviously to go into the confrontation, into this conversation that you should have had a long time ago, into setting more clear boundaries, into conflict resolution, and you know, working with I statements and how you feel and why this doesn't work or does work for you. You know, like one of my coaching tips is always in this regards is to practice saying, because I feel like it, because it feels true to me, because it feels right to me. Yeah, that's the higher expression of that. Anger can be a springboard for that. The lower expression is what we're going to see in the collective, and that is outrage, that is, you know, erratic behavior, that is violence. Okay, so we're going to see this. It's already started. Yeah. So understand here that you know, this energetic analysis that I do for every month is a very detailed view. And often, you know, that doesn't relate to people's life at first because they're not really in the practice of this kind of deeper self-reflection. So we got to remind ourselves that higher power isn't something that is bestowed onto us. Higher power is already in us. It is not something that we need to acquire or seek, or I don't know, do certain things in order to get it. Yeah, that's an ego, that's a dualistic concept. Higher power is already in us. It is something that we need to choose, that we need to consciously choose. And self-healing isn't all about healing what's flawed or what's broken. Self-healing really is just a different way of saying self-growth, yeah, self-improvement, but on a higher level. Because on this higher perspective, you recognize that, you know, there is something in you that you are refusing, that you are rejecting, that you are resisting, and that needs to be revealed. Yeah, and as it is being revealed, yeah, an alchemy, a transformation takes place, and we call that healing. So whenever something basically transmutes from a lower into a higher vibratory state, then we talk about healing. So in that way, you could regard fear, yeah, as the sign of unexpressed anger, turning into anger as a healing process. And that's what November is all about. We need to learn to feel into it, to connect with it, to be okay with our anger, to do a little bit of shadow clearing, yeah, and then ask ourselves how we can bring this into higher expression. And that is not easy, yeah, but brings great opportunities. Just real quick here, The important dates for November, this starts. Currently, we are already in this field that is creating this sort of explosive reveal, big news. Yeah, a big event here. October the 30th is 30th and 31st. A very, very high energy comes in with the flash, literally. Then we have a few days where we can go a little bit into contemplation and, you know, just try to stay as conscious as we can in the midst of all the stuff that is being purged, that is being revealed here, yeah, bit by bit, every day. And November 5th then is sort of what I call the big reveal. Okay, this is not going to go over well, but it is something that we kind of all knew already, but didn't really want to admit or didn't really want to face it. So the big reveal is whenever the elephant in the room steps out and becomes visible. Yeah, and that leads to collapse of the story, of the narrative that was being kept alive by everybody, including ourselves. Then on November 7th is a direct clash. I described November energies as a series of tests. The November 7th is one of those tests. And then November 8th, very, very big. This is a full lunar eclipse visible here in the United States, and election day. Really, really big sort of like spotlight on untruths and the shadow that has covered it up. So this isn't going to be comfortable. This happens in all countries, but here in the United States, it's kind of auspicious timing, really. And it falls together with the election here. Then in November 10th and 11th is another big test, and this leads to an extreme political situation. So this can have something to do with the Ukraine war, because there are aspects that are coming forward now that are very, very contrary to public opinion. And I would recommend all of you to pay attention, because this war has not been what it was sold to us, and is definitely also not the reason for the energy crisis. There are other reasons for that that we were not supposed to see, and this is coming forward and leading to a series of, well, I called it diplomatically here, extreme political situations, standoffs, okay, in the most literal sense. Then on November 15th is sort of the cataclysmic sort of release of that history-changing event. And this will, sort of create a lot of chaos at first, but then people will also start seeing the deeper, sort of task that lies. It's like whenever there's new inventions or new discoveries, at first it's just like, whoa, and then, then all the doubters come and the skeptics, and then, it goes into sort of a deeper internalization and integration process. So we have a little bit of time to process things here in a good way. This will help us to, rethink some of our relationships, and it will give us the courage to say no more to these things that we have previously accepted. Yeah, this always comes in when there's a bigger outer challenge. Then we're willing to make changes. Yeah, until the pain of staying where we're at becomes greater than the fear of the unknown future, our ego isn't going to change, and that is going to be provided for us. The pain of staying where we're at will become greater than the fear of the unknown future, which is a great process, but obviously as a collective, we need to work with this step by step. So the next test then is on the 18th, 19th of November. Here, you'll probably feel very foggy around this time, and try to like sort of crawl into your hole. It's a bit dangerous time for addictions. because there is just too much going on, and you have to stay conscious there. It's very, very important. On the new moon time, then on the 23rd of November, helps us to make better choices. So overall, yeah, then to the outer end of November, there's time to heal, time to relax a little bit and connect with the love aspect of that, and give ourselves this self-corrective new beginning, yeah, to say, okay, this is not fun, this is not nice, what I'm experiencing right now, but I am finally willing, to recognize that the old cannot be upheld. So November is that month where we're standing right at the end and right before the new beginning. So it's that sort of limbo in between. Overall, there still is a build up here to it the end of the year. Yeah, so this tension isn't going to go away. Yeah, just be aware of this. Okay, let's close right here. Just one last slide. Yeah, truth is a feeling that reminds of love. We talked about this earlier briefly. It's unmistakable when something is true to you, when something resonates with your deepest values and virtues. It's your identity. It's what forms your identity here, and in 3D, that is. Okay, but the beauty of it is, and that's what you feel as love, is that it actually resonates with something very, very deep in you. Yeah, that just simply feels the absoluteness of truth. And that's very similar to the perception of love, not necessarily romantic love, but the higher expression of love. So the higher expression of love is truth, and the higher expression of truth is love. Yeah, that's why they are fundamentally tied together. Without truth and without love, there can't be freedom. So this trinity between love, truth, and freedom, yeah, and finding the middle ground, or finding the sweet spot between them, yeah, between our ways of thinking, our ways of seeing ourselves, and our ways of being, of embodying. Yeah, the sweet spot of that is your heart, is how your heart kind of shows you what resonates most deeply with you. And you all know this, when you get attracted to something in such a deep way that it's almost irresistible for you, because you want to experience this resonance, yeah, this deep, deep resonance where you can feel your higher self. It's, this divine love, yeah, that shines through in those moments when you stand in your truth, when you make a stance for your truth, and then ultimately for your freedom. That's why these processes, when we do them consciously, are so life-changing. Yeah, there is no way back. Once you've experienced this once, there is only one way, and that is forward. That is toward this divine love. Yeah, that reconfirms, your inner alignment back to you. It gives you that feedback through this divine love, and that's why we're all looking for it. That's why all humans ultimately look for this love. They just externalize it and make themselves an object of love, and therefore, we see these toxic expressions such as codependency and projection and absorption, manipulation, and power struggles. So November is a month that allows us to transcend that but we have to be willing to really look it into the eye, to really look at it for what it is. All right, everyone, thank you so much for your dedication, for listening. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. If you want to go further and you haven't done it yet, join us in the upcoming energy course. I'm happy that many of you are in this energy training club program here for this month, because there's a lot that we can work through. So thank you for your trust and for your dedication.
Breaking free to the love and peace within, I dedicate myself. I am one with my higher self, the part in me that is unchanging, eternal and infinite. In me, I can feel the connection to all there is. It fills me with the knowing that I am here for a reason. I am here because my higher self chose to be here, right here, right now. I know that I came here with a purpose, even if I cannot see it sometimes. I embrace all experiences as learning experiences and feel nothing but gratitude for any opportunity to grow. Because in my heart, I can feel the truth that guides me. I embrace change as evolutionary path of my being, and trust in my higher self to guide me through this 3D ego reality. By aligning myself to this inner knowing, body, mind, spirit, heart, and soul, I find my center. In there, in my sacred heart, undisturbed by the limitations of my ego, I can feel the connection with a greater reality. As soon as I let go of wanting to be someone I am not, I feel supported and loved by spirit. Yes, I feel the power to choose my expression in this world, and the power to break free from the illusions of ego. When I follow the path of my heart, the gateway to my higher thinking and perceiving, my destination is crystal clear. As energetic being of light and love, my purpose is to bring this love the divine has for me into this world. past, present, and future are merely constructs of the ego. When I feel the connection with my higher self, I need not to worry. I need not to judge. Because everything that was or will be is already inside of me. Through discerning, I learn to freely choose. Through trusting, I learn to love. Through loving, I learn to self-heal. Through healing, I learn to grow. And through growing, I serve the highest good of all. Whenever I dismiss my inner guidance out of fear, guilt, pride, anger, or shame, or when I am feeding negativity and pessimism in me, I'm choosing my lower expression. By choosing to focus on my inner connection, working through me as my inner truth, I can clearly experience the limitations of my ego reality, distracting me from discerning truth, and with it, my own thoughts, emotions, and choices. I realize now that it is my highest expression to break free from my ego illusion here in 3D and to overcome the darkness and loneliness of my inner separation from my true being. No more. I am done with creating karma through unconscious choices or coping. No more. I am done with entertaining toxic thoughts and emotions projected onto me. No more. I am done with trying to please others to the expense of my truth. And I forgive myself for dismissing my true feelings in the past. I get it now. I can see now how this unconscious behavior led me into my fears and the darkness of my own shadow. I could not feel this before. True self, I hear you now. I can feel how every thought, emotion, word, or action either strengthens or weakens our connection. I realize that you have always been there, right here in the middle, my sacred heart. To protect and guide me away from the darkness and confusion of ego distractions. With you in my heart, I can learn that there is nothing to fear but the prison of my own distrust in myself that deceives me into believing that I am powerless. When I can remember to listen to you and return your loving guidance for me through following the truth of my heart, I feel empowered. I feel supported and strong because I know that through trusting in the I am in me, I become the sovereign of my life's experience. Help me to remember this when I am low and lonely. Fill me with faith and hope that give me the clarity, courage, and determination to trust in my higher expression. And thank you for always being there for me when I remember to check in with you. I humbly recognize how all sicknesses of the human soul are essentially the pain of not trusting in the love the divine has for us. And therefore, consciously choose to refuse a reality without this life-giving love at the center of it. Through the power of this higher knowing, I herewith declare myself free of all attachments, limitations, energetic ties and karmic binds in any dimension or time to any person, entity, or ego illusion. Nothing and no one has the right to violate my truth, my love, or my freedom to choose. I am not afraid. I trust in my destiny and the ability to create miracles because I no longer tolerate or enable life or love degrading energies in or around me. By choosing the path of conscious self-mastery, I know that I can rely on my ability to sense anything or anyone trying to compromise my sense of self and self-love, and relentlessly call out those who want to steal my higher power. I herewith claim my higher self as my expression, now and at all times. Higher self, thank you for my energetic sensitivity. As it shows me when I need to stand my ground, when I need to walk away, when I need to clear, self-correct, and when I need to heal. Keep showing me the path of my heart's love and encourage me to embrace and express how I truly feel. I want you to be the voice of my heart. I want you to be the only voice of my heart. Speak to me in my dreams. Let me hear this voice that empowers me to trust, so that I have the power to overcome the temptations of fear and inner darkness. Show me what to let go of, to feel inner peace, and give me the courage to have faith that I can trust in myself can truly rest in my heart, as all there is left to do is to live and create